eyes never left the queen. It drew the palace guards like moths to a flame. Already, Reyna's partner, Ven, was matching her steps on the opposite side of the ballroom. Crimson cloaks and gold armor accents, indicators of the queen's private guards, meant they drew attention from the more discerning citizens, but no one dared approach. Behind Ven, 2 other soldiers were already securing the exits. 4 senior guards, the ones proven worthy enough to stand near the queen, subtly tightened their circle around her. Yet another carefully orchestrated dance. Reyna's short sword slid from its scabbard with a whisper. "Turn around. Walk away," she thought. "You don't have to die tonight." But of course, it was far too late for that. He'd been identified as a threat, and threats were dealt with swiftly and mercilessly. Not for the first time, Kianthe's offer rose from the back of Reyna's mind. "Run away with me," the mage had said, her eyes alight. "You like tea? I like books. Let's open a shop somewhere remote and forget the world exists." Reyna had rolled her eyes back then, her lips tilting in a forbidden smile. It used to sound crazy. She came from a long line of palace guards, even if most were dead now. Her duty had been inscribed with blood the moment she was born. And yet, a part of her fantasized about lounging in a quiet, no-name town, sipping a cup of tea by the fire while Kianthe flipped aimlessly through a heavy tome. It was a distant dream, but one that left a warm glow deep in her soul. The song ended, and almost immediately the music shifted into a brighter melody, if that were possible. But the pause allowed a breath of silence, one where the guard's coordinated commands reached the assassin's ears. He knew they'd seen him. His eyes grew desperate, the set of his mouth firmed, and he began shoving his way to the queen. People yelped as the man knocked them to the ground, cried out as he yanked 2 wicked-looking knives from sheaths hidden beneath his loose shirt. Queen Tulane watched the entire display with marked disinterest, chewing a delicate bite of shrimp. Her eyes flicked to Reyna, the closest of her guards, and she made a, "Well, get on with it," motion. Gods be damned. Reyna hated this part. Drawing a short breath and steeling her resolve, Reyna lunged. As easily as a knife through butter, her sword slid into the man's back. The blade nicked a couple ribs, meeting resistance, but she shoved it deeper. Her face, a distant mask as the bloody tip protruded from his chest, just below his heart. She'd been raised for murder, for protection, but Reyna could never get used to this. Pressed against the back of a dying man, his blood seeping through her uniform and slicking her sword's hilt, the coppery scent hanging thick in the air. It made her insides twist. The assassin had made his choice when he arrived at this ball, but as Kianthe was so blunt to remind her, there were other methods of apprehension. And yet, this particular one had Queen Tulane tilting her head, smiling amidst the screams. "Well, now it's a party," Her Excellency said over the faltering orchestra. Blood dribbled from the man's mouth, and his body spasmed as Reyna withdrew the sword. He staggered, finally facing her, and gasped, "She deserves to die." Reyna, who shouldn't have an opinion on that, didn't falter. "Finish him," Queen Tulane ordered. Reyna raised her sword again, and inside her chest, that wariness quadrupled. She was so tired of this. Of their sovereign, of palace protocol. All she wanted was a nice, hot cup of tea. It was treason to think that. She thought it anyway. And then Ven shouted in alarm, and